Hello, we're ready for our show today, Qualped Life. The Qualped Life is something we're inventing. We're inventing a new way for people to live, a new lifestyle. Isn't that exciting? Isn't that exciting? An exciting way to live my old age. My old age, where you dedicate your life to making as humanly possible, right? Making a mark on human consciousness, changing the lifestyle of how we live. Our goal, of course, with Qualped Company, the overall vision, is that everybody would write and publish a book, a Sims book, our technology, a book in the form of our technology before their life is over, right? That's our goal. Our goal is to change humanity to such an extent. And I'm sure in my generation, and maybe it's not possible, 8 billion people or more. Well, adults, right? It wouldn't be children. But my son is going to carry it on, Prince, and our shareholders, like, we have this young guy, Shanid, who's going to be CEO one day and take this vision to where it's supposed to be, which is a global solution that we're bringing to enhance and augment, we like this word augment, human nature. That we are able to tell our stories in every human being, just like everybody lives for a car and a house in the old industrial age. They would live to write and tell their story in the form of a Sims book, which is the technology that we develop for the future of the book. And when I say future, it's ready already. So we're ready for that kind of thing. So the Qualped Life, that's what it's all about. Authoring our future and inventing who we want to be, who we imagine ourselves to be, what is possible. Okay, so let's get on with today's show. We continue from yesterday. Yesterday we talked about augmented reality and what augmented really means and what reality really means, right? So today's show is a bit earlier. It's 6 o'clock. Yesterday, for the year so far, 2022, we've started at 6:30. But usually we should be starting at 6 and ending at 7. It's fun doing the show. I love it. We have big goals, of course, as you know. Those of you who've been watching us for a long time, for this live streaming operation to become a mass media operation where we do 24/7 news and entertainment and fitness programs and all kinds of programs, wealth building programs, values-based programs and stuff. But today we're not doing that. Of course, we have our regular talk show, and so today we're going to focus on continuing from where we left off yesterday, which is augmented reality, and we ended yesterday with saying that the way we augment our reality, which is when we say augment, we mean the things that we add on to reality. So reality is there, whatever reality is, we keep adding stuff on, and whatever we add on is called augmentation, augmenting, right? And it's a word that, yes, it's big, but we hear a lot about AR, augmented reality, and VR, virtual reality. And we want to focus on the word reality because we're going through, and we said this yesterday, to maintain a kind of stable, sound mental health position during COVID, during the pandemic, even as Ontario right now is in a lockdown. And globally it's going to get more and more intense, as has happened in Europe over the next few weeks. We'll see a lot of people freak out, a lot of people in confusion and not understanding what's going on, kind of suffer mental health problems, and we are seeing that even now. So we want to make a difference in that, for at least for our people who listen to us and people who come around in our circle, that here's the thing, in life, if you understand what's going on, it's all about understanding. If we understand life, if we understand the people we deal with, if we come from a point of understanding, we know how to position ourselves so that our mental health is preserved, so that we don't suffer anxiety and depression and stress and drama and all those things. It's a simple thing of understanding stuff, right? Of coming to an understanding of things. This is actually a biblical concept. It's Solomon talked a lot about it. The wisest man who ever lived, right? So yesterday we talked about reality, and we delved into the new future that is opening up post-COVID, which is augmented reality, which means that the humanity, the thinkers, the designers, the elites behind the scene, the managers of the world system, they're adding stuff on to our humanity to human beings, individual human beings, but also society. And adding on, when you put more stuff on, you become augmented, right? That's what the word augmented means. We just add stuff on. So yesterday we said something which is, if you reduce, if you deconstruct, and remember deconstruction is a big concept within a big methodology that they use in science. You deconstruct things. In fact, that's what happened to the world through rationalism. We saw after a world that was superstitious and religious back in the feudal age, in the industrial age, people started going through something called deconstructionism, which is you deconstruct things to their lowest common value, their lowest common denominator, and that became like, for example, we reduce life to an atom and then a nucleus and all those things, right? So molecule and all that. So we deconstructed things, and we, by deconstructing, you could say, is tearing them apart. We learned how they were built, and then we could build them back how we want them to be built. And that's how we built the world that we have today, the industrial world. Deconstruction became a big scientific methodology. And so that's what we want to do with the word reality. Let's deconstruct the word reality. And what we come up with, if you and I, in reality, what are we? If you take off all the trappings that we go around with, saying that we're civilized human beings, what are we really? We're naked people standing in the wilderness, no house, no wall, no protection, nothing. No clothes, no cologne, nothing. No deodorant, nothing. We're just bare, naked people in the wilderness with the elements around us. That's the real reality of a human being, without any augmentation whatsoever, nothing added on to us. And we talked about this yesterday, over civilization, we added stuff on. First we started living in caves, and then we developed tools like stone tools to kill animals with, so we can have food more than just plant leaves. And we learned how to do fire, and we put on clothing that forced animal skins, and then and civilization gradually built. And then we added sophisticated technology like transportation, communication, electric light, all those things. And a lot of the augmentation that happened with human civilization happened only within the past 125 years. In fact, back in the early 1900s, 2022, not a lot of people had electricity in their house. People didn't have heat in the winter. It was a brutal time after World War I and the plague that happened back then. And even in World War II, even England and Germany and Japan and much of the world, especially Europe, suffered a lot, right? And there was tremendous poverty. So we take a lot of these things for granted. The augmentation of our reality we take for granted. And so all that is going on right now, we said this yesterday, is that we're raising the reality to a whole new level, and the term that we apply to it, to this process, is augmented reality. So we're not just augmenting stuff or the human being. The very concept of reality, we're adding stuff on and augmenting it, making it bigger, making it more powerful than it was before in the industrial age, in the knowledge age, in the technology age. As we augment reality, you see, we need to know these things. If we don't know these things, then how can we alter our future? How can we invent the person that we want to be? And that's why we delve into these kinds of things on the show, that we bring a new awareness, a new consciousness to ourselves, right? The new reality, augmented reality, is, of course, you know what it is. They're going to have these technology glasses which will replace smartphone, replace all screens. We won't have computer screens and smartphones and TV, because we put our glasses on and the screen appears in front of us and we can watch our screen in private. Nobody else sees it, right? So the augmentation through technology is going to be fascinating and amazing and absolutely beautiful, and it's going to enhance who we are as human beings, and it's going to lift us from this physical space where gravity keeps us grounded. We're very limited, right, in the physical space. But through the Internet of Things and through augmented reality technology, wearable technology, including clothing that is hooked up to the internet with devices and sensors in it for temperature and all those things, it's going to make us human beings that our foreparents wouldn't even recognize, because we will be so futuristic. This is within a year, 2 years, 3 years. Between now and 2025, this foundation is laid, and then by 2030, 2035, we're fully there. Think of Elon Musk's program Neuralink, and also SpaceX and Tesla cars. The whole transportation system is revolutionizing right now. We're about to see the revolutionizing of communications technology with the replacement, for example, of smartphones with augmented glasses and all those things. So those things are coming, and we want to really focus on them. So yesterday we talked about augmented reality, and then we ended the show saying, how are we being augmented? And of course, it's by technology, right? Technology is augmenting us, is adding on stuff to us to make us kind of superhuman, right? Imagine they have robots now and artificial intelligence, AI, that are smarter than humans, and that's not right. It's just not right. So we want to settle and make that our permanent reality. We're going to augment who we are so that we become more powerful, more enhanced than robots, right? Even robots with their AI and their superior technology won't be able to compete with humans because we augment ourselves. We're not just helpless creatures standing out in the wilderness exposed to the elements like the snow on the screen. We're covered, we're in heat, we're like the building is heated for winter countries. I mean, if you were in tropical countries, it's a different story. But you know what I mean. The human being, we could wear fashion, we could do our hair how we want it to be, we can enhance our teeth, we can clean our nails, we can do all these things, we can smell good, we augment who we are. And with technology, holograms included, augmented reality glasses, Internet of Things, all our furniture, our house will be smart homes, the ceiling, the floor, everything will have smart tiles. Those things are coming. It sounds outlandish, but remember, we are about something here. We are about the future. We're all about the future. That's what we deal with. We don't deal with the past as much as it's important because our story kind of has a history. We do consider it, and the present, we don't even believe the present exists because, as you say, present, it's gone, right? It is what we call present is the past feeding into the future in that minuscule second of time. So we're all about the future, and what we want to talk about today is the values that we, as a company, as a group of people, want to put out into the world, right? Because we want to talk about values. That is important. But before we go there, we augment ourselves by technology. So, hopefully we agree on that. It's all about technology. Everywhere around us is technology, technology, technology. We're in the age of technology. Add to that the age of knowledge, and you have an empowered human being, right? Individuals are super empowered today because of technology and knowledge. The humongous explosion of knowledge online. We have everything at our fingertips. What they used to teach in university and elites used to have access to that knowledge is now available for free online, right? On YouTube and websites and social media. But there's an aspect of technology, a particular aspect of technology that we use to augment who we are as human beings, that we use to enhance who we are. The word augment means enhance, means added on, right? The part of technology that we use is media. It's media, and we ended the show yesterday with this point that, and a lot of this is coming from people like Marshall McLuhan and Northrop Frye. Read their books, right? Northrop Frye has two books, Words with Power and The Great Code. And of course, you have Marshall McLuhan. The medium is the message, and Gutenberg Galaxy is one of his books as well. And then you have René Girard also wrote a lot about media and technology and human nature, how we react to these things. And many other scholars deal with them, right? If you want to live a successful life in the future, I'm talking from now, 2022, going into, say, the next 3 years, 2025, there are a lot of millionaires going to be made, a lot of billionaires, a lot of trillionaires, because fiat money as we knew money, the whole conception of money is changing. Why? Because the whole concept of reality is changing. The whole concept of space is changing. No longer are we physical space and material stuff is reality and money is dollars and coins that the bank would give to us. No. Now we have cryptocurrency. I mean, yesterday today Bitcoin and a lot of the coins, Ethereum and stuff, they drop tremendously in values. But it's a volatile thing, right? It goes up and down. It doesn't go one straight smooth curve up. But cryptocurrency is the future, and governments are starting to realize that now and adopt it, including China, Salvador, and in South America just did that, adopted Bitcoin as their official currency, and they are saying the US would do the same thing and replace it with their dollar. It would become more valuable than gold. So cryptocurrency is replacing money as we knew it. The very concept of money is changing. The very concept of space is changing, away from physical space to virtual space, to a more enhanced space where we can do much more in that space, like the metaverse. And then of course there's a change in the concept of the human being himself or herself, the human being augmented and enhanced, and with technology making us bigger than we were before, not bigger in size of course, but potential and power, more powerful than we were before. How is all this happening? It's all happening through technology, but a particular aspect of technology, which is media. So what Marshall McLuhan said, and what we believe, and what we want you to get, we're going to really awaken the consciousness to this, is that we are mediated human beings. We are mediated with technology, and that idea is if you grasp it, we will, I don't want to use the word dominate, but we will own the future. We will own tomorrow. If we can grasp that idea that we're mediated beings, right? The human being today in the 21st century, 2022, as the future rushes towards us, we're mediated human beings. To such an extent that Elon Musk has decided to augment our very brain. He's invented this thing called Neuralink to install it into our brain and augment our thinking power, we would be connected to the internet through this thing, which in fact is a story I wrote back in 20 years ago in my novel Nightmares of Knowledge. So just a side note, we'll release, I think I'll release a copy of that book in a different design, and let the story get out some more, because I wanted to keep it as a collector's item, but I might release the story again in the second edition. But anyway, we have to realize that technology and media is the future. Technology and media. And to such an extent that media is not external to us. Media is us. Media is myself. Media is you. You mediate yourself to the world by your fashion, by how you dress, by how your tone of voice, by how your posture, how you carry yourself, by your conversation that you have with people. But not only the things you wear, but your behavior as well. It's all mediated stuff. We mediate who we are with society so that we can position ourselves in a position of power or influence, or that society will respect us, right? I mean, there's a difference between the guy who is homeless and living on the street and the person who goes out there and say, I'm going to present a good image and go out there to make $1 million, right? There's a big difference. And the difference is how you mediate yourself, what kind of image you're putting out there, your brand, so to speak. So you're going to hear me talk a lot because we want the idea to really hit home. We want to build up our awareness and our consciousness of this new world that we're moving into, that life is all about technology and it's all about media, to the extent that money as we knew it, money has no value anymore. Remember when you hear Elon Musk is worth $300 billion, or Apple is worth $1 trillion. Money, it's like water flowing through a tap now, right? These guys are becoming, and those, by the way, the money, we said it yesterday, the money is not physically there. You can't go into a safe and pull it open and say, Apple has $1 trillion in there. No, it's not there. It's all virtual. Everything is virtual. Money is virtual. Everything is going virtual now. So what you thought was reality, you have $100 in your pocket. The value of that $100, what it can buy, is now minuscule, and it's decreasing every day. But Bitcoin and virtual money are increasing in what the power that is inherent in that kind of currency. So technology, I said this on one of my social media posts, and these are ideas that we would flesh out eventually, but technology and media today are being used by these super elite thinkers and visionaries to buy money. Elon Musk uses technology, his advanced electrical cars, his space program, Neuralink. He uses technology to buy wealth and power and influence. He doesn't use money because money is, you can't walk around with $300 billion in a briefcase. But you could walk around with enough technology that you can buy the wealth and power that you need in the world to change humanity. And that's what they're doing. We need to get that concept, because a lot of people are focusing on money, money, money. And everybody, even Forbes magazine, when they talk about the wealthy and the powerful in the world, they label everybody in the box of economics and say this guy is rich and powerful because he has $300 billion. Or this one is powerful because he has $150 billion. Or that one just became a new billionaire. Without realizing that this billionaire status and millionaire status and trillionaire status, it's only possible because of technology. It's only possible because they're plugged into a certain kind of media. And individually, that's what we need to do. We need to, if we're going to alter the future that we think is possible, that we imagine is possible, if we're going to design our life the way we want to live, then we have to realize the way we do it, don't focus on the money part. Focus on developing what technology do you embrace. I don't want to use the word control. What technology are you plugged into that you have some proficiency over and you can use that technology? And what media are you projecting, even on social media? What platform are you on? Spotify or Facebook or Instagram or Tumblr, YouTube, whatever it is. How are you using media, which is available at our fingertips, to enhance and augment who you are as a person? To touch the heart of the world, to get your message across, like we're trying to do with this, not trying, we're doing with our live streaming show, which is one of the reasons we have the live streaming show, to get our ideas out there, to use media, to use technology to build the future that we want. It's no longer about money and economics. Now, I'm not saying that economics are not important. It's an important pillar in the building. But the real foundation in that building now, the world system and how human beings are living, is technology and mediated technology, media side of technology. We got to get that. Okay, so that is to elaborate and finish on what we were talking about yesterday, which is we ended the show by saying the human being is mediated and with technology, and that's how we advance into the future. As mediated people, let's recognize that and add on to us, enhance ourselves with media technology that positions us to be in a position of power and influence so that we can build the kind of world that we want to live in, right? I hope that makes some sense. But we're going to keep talking about it over subsequent shows, and eventually the idea would become, how should I say, mainstream maybe, or normal. Because right now I know it's sounding very exotic and very outlandish and like, oh, what is this guy talking about, right? We're going to see a world where we won't even think about money anymore, because money is not important anymore. As we see with people, you want to become a millionaire, a lot of millionaires will be made with this Web3 that is coming out, this third phase of the internet, of the web. But the people who are going to make that money, the new millionaires, the new billionaires, the new trillionaires, are not people who are looking to make money. They have a vision, and they're going out there to build technology, and they're going out there to use media to mediate who they are to the global village. Those are the people who are going to be wealthy in the future, and the wealth would mean nothing to them. What would be important to them is, what technology am I giving to humanity? Or how am I mediating myself in a way that I'm positioned in the minds of the masses of society, that is powerful, right? That is influential, that I can make a mark, that I can live the life that I imagine as possible, not because I have enough money in the bank, but because I have some control. I don't like the word control, let's use the word control for now, of a type of technology that is mine, the intellectual property of it, the IP of it is mine, and therefore I can use this technology to mediate myself to the global village where I'm on the platform playing powerfully, right? Now here's what, let me see how much time we have. Okay, good. So messages. Sorry, I need to make sure. after the show, of course. It's not emergency. Of course, if it was emergency, I would go do that. But anyway, one of the ways this is what I want to talk about today. One of the ways that we augment ourselves with one of the mediated stuff that we do is our values, and I really want to focus on that today. So, my sister in New York, Penny, hi Penny, shout out to Penny, hopefully she's watching the show, sent me some videos this morning on WhatsApp of a lady called Dr. Mandy Rai from India, and she wrote a book called The Values Compass, which I've seen in the bookstore, but I never took it seriously. Now I'm going to buy it actually. And I should tag her in this video right on YouTube so we get some exposure. But Penny sent me this video, a series of videos that Mandy Rai gave speeches and talks and interviews and stuff to different organizations around the world. And what Mandy Rai is talking about is she's like the preeminent spokesperson and visionary in the world. She's recognized by world leaders everywhere. For one thing, she's saying that the future is about values, and we must, as countries, as companies, and as individuals, we must stop focusing on gathering material stuff, including money and profits, and instead we need to focus on what value are we bringing to society? What's our value system? What values are we? And when we talk values, we're not talking about ethics and morals and all those things. We're not talking about social values. We're talking about the value of standing for something. What's the integrity of what am I standing for? That is the value, and we're going to get into it. Of course, she's mirroring, and she's also well connected with Mark Carney, who became the global evangelist for a system for humanity where we live by values, not by accumulation of stuff and materialism and how much money we have in the bank and all those things. So what are we getting at here? In a world of technology where we can mediate who we are, in other words, enhance our image, our brand, so that we command some kind of power and respect and even love from the masses, from society, so that we're positioned on a platform where we can tell our message to the world, and the world rewards us with the kind of lifestyle that we think we love, that we imagine is possible. Elon Musk also thinks the same thing, and Zuckerberg, all these big guys, they think the same way. You think these guys walk around thinking I have $200 billion in my pocket? Of course not. They're walking around thinking, how am I impacting 2 billion people? Which is what Zuckerberg is doing with Facebook. How am I impacting, like Elon Musk would be asking that same question, how do I impact billions of people with free internet, Wi-Fi, with electric cars instead of gasoline cars pouring pollution into the air? These guys, Bill Gates and all of them, at the end of the day, their intention is humane and good. Now they might have conspiracies, and they're human, they're not angels, they're not gods, so they might have some bad character traits and stuff like that. I'm not saying they're angels, but at the end of the day, their intention is good, which is to improve humanity, to enhance us, to lift us from this physical world that we live in, which is so limiting, right? And we said yesterday that the industrial age, or economics, the economic system, the economic order, which came out of the brain of a man called Adam Smith, who wrote this book back in 1776 called Wealth of Nations. That system has outlived its usefulness. It's peaked, it's gone to its mountain top, and it's going down now. It's like when you peak on the mountain top, there's only one way to go after that, which is down. And so it's industrial society is self-destructing. Economics is self-destructing, right? They're damaging the environment, they're damaging the human body with plastics and with processed food from Monsanto and all over the place, Nestle in their water system. The industrial age has outlived its usefulness. It made us progress to a certain extent. Now we need to augment ourselves, enhance ourselves, add some stuff onto us so that we move higher than that peak, and industrialism cannot go higher than that mountain. What can take us to the stratosphere above the atmosphere where gravity keeps us down is technology, is virtual space, a new space. And the way we as individuals function in that space is, of course, with media. We mediate who we are. So I'm repeating this thing over and over and over again because it's a very, very important point. If we're going to say to people, author your future, design the life that you believe is possible, we have to say how it's possible and why we say that, and what are the ramifications around living such a life. Because before, nobody lived like that, right? People lived to retire in the future, and they lived to pay bills. But we're in a different world, and we want to create in our domain, in our social circle, the kind of mindset in our people that we want to have a global community where people are thinking, how do I alter my future? How do I bring out the Sims book? How do I publish a book before my time? How do I bring solutions to society through writing my Sims book and publishing it and getting my message out to humanity, right? Big thoughts, big ideas, big goals, but why play a small life? Why play small? This thing we call life that we breathe is the most amazing thing in the entire universe, and we take it for granted. Life is a beautiful, deep, it's an ocean of power that we have within us, that we breathe every second. And the industrial age, and even before that, throughout the whole human history, the individual was never empowered to make use of this power that we call life. Now we can. And a very important part of how we augment ourselves, how we mediate ourselves in this new world that is coming, is the value system that we adopt. What values are we living for? So companies are starting to ask this question because of Mark Carney and also Mandy Rai and other people who are in that space. There's a whole new industry, to use that word, I don't like that word, but a whole new sector being carved out globally of people who are saying, including the elders, this organization that is behind the scenes making things happen, new visions happen. They're saying, what are the values that drive this company? What are the values that drive our countries? What are the values that drive individual human beings? And it's more than culture. It's more than ethics and morals. Our values are the things that we stand for. So for example, our company, Qualped Life Corporation, and of course we have 4 companies, right? One for smart homes, the media company, Future Stars Media Enterprise, and which includes the magazine Millionaire Mindset, and Qualped, right? We have all these companies, and the reason we do that is because we stand for some values. The first and foremost value that we stand for as a company is originality. We believe that every human being should be original. Don't copy stuff other people are doing. No, certain things we have to, right? Like if you read the work of René Girard, you would see that we are, by nature, the human nature itself is imitative. We like to imitate stuff. Even our desires are imitated from other people in our lives that we don't even know. A model would say, for example, this is what love means, and we live our whole life believing that is how love looks, when we got it from somebody, maybe a parent or some influential person in our life as a kid. Just an example. But human nature is by nature, by naturally imitative, and we got to work at being original. And I like the work of Harold Bloom, who wrote a book where he studied 100 great thinkers, or 100 original thinkers, including Beethoven and Da Vinci, but also writers, mostly writers, right? Philosophers included, but also Shakespeare and Kierkegaard and all those people. And he wrote a book, which I have on my library, and I was fortunate enough to read, where he talked about how did these guys come up with original ideas, because originality comes out of thin air. That's what originality is. You don't see it somewhere else. Innovation is different. We could have a value that says we're a company that values innovation. We don't. Although we do accept and love innovation, because innovation is you take known parts and put them together in a different way, and that's what innovation is. It's really not original in the sense of the word original, but we believe in originality. And here is what that means for you as an individual, for us as an individual. We create a life, and at least we strive to create a life. We work hard to create a life, work smart actually, to create a life that nobody else has lived. And there is so much joy, and there's so much peace, and there's magnificent humanity in such a goal, where we don't say to where we don't say to ourselves, what society says to me is how I'm going to live. We live in a different age. The individual is empowered. We can literally go out there and say we don't need to go work farms and lease land from feudal lords and become farmers. We don't need to go work in a factory and clock in 9 to 5 and clock out 5 o'clock and drive 2 hours in traffic and commute. We don't need to live that life anymore. Right? I was talking to one of our young shareholders, Shindy, today about our e-commerce platform that has ebooks on it and using content that is there on affiliate sites and stuff like that, ebooks and videos and all kinds of stuff, and you can literally build a business just with a laptop. In fact, there's a book I have on my bookshelf that says the laptop lifestyle and the laptop millionaire. Those are books that were published. You can literally do that today. The individual is empowered, and we got to get that message out to people. We don't need to copy what others are doing out there. We need to find out the sheer beauty of being a human being from the perspective that we are created to create original stuff. We're created to create. The operative word in life is create, right? You have the creation, which is nature. You have the creature, which is us. So the creation and the creature. And obviously you have a creator, because the operative word in life is create. So obviously there has to be a creator. We are born to create. We are made to create. And so and original stuff, right? And how do you do that? Out of our imagination, we read, we study, we think, intellectual effort. Remember that? We did a show on that before. And we use our imagination to imagine what is possible for my life. What is possible? And let's write it out. What plan can I write out? What story can I invent? What story can I invent and create and generate and put out into the world? Let me go into my mind and generate an original story, and I'm the main character. This is my life. I'm going to prove to the world and prove to the heavens and prove to everybody that even the generations to come, when I'm not physically on the earth, that out of my imagination something original came and I put it out into the world. Now, it sounds, outlandish and kind of impossible, but it isn't. It's the most simple life to live. If we wake up every single day and say, let me think future. So one of our values is original. The second value that we hang on to, embrace, hold on to, and cherish is future. We're all about the future. We're about being original. We're about all about the future, living into the future. So it's not that we do take into consideration our past and history. Of course we do, but we don't get caught up there. We say the future is what is important, and the way we tackle the future is that we realize the future is not made yet. The future is wide open. The future is a fuzzy, confusing place. And we get to create the kind of future that we want. There's beauty in that. That's what life is all about. We have that power as human beings to go out there and say, I'm going to invent the kind of future that I think is possible. That's what we are as a company, as a vision, not even a company, but as a vision. The quality life, that's what it's about. And when we look at Mark Carney and we look at Mandy Bry and we look at all these visionaries who are moving out into this new world that we're advancing into, this post-COVID world that is waiting to be unfolded when COVID decides to take a back seat. That world that is NFT and metaverse and virtual space and augmented reality and cryptocurrency, what is going to drive people in that world, what is going to drive companies and countries is not economics, it's not money, it's values, it's our values. And we are encouraged, one of our module in our training program that we have is about values. People delve into what is my value system? What do I want to put out into the world? And everybody has different values. Every company has different values. You choose whatever inspires you, right? For us, it's originality and it's future. You imagine what's possible and you make it happen. Imagine that kind of life, eh? The people we deal with, we say to them, how are you original? What are you doing that nobody else is doing? Or how are you being that in a different way than anybody else on the face of the earth? we're unique individuals, right? We're unique persons. Every creature on the face of the earth is unique. But we don't live like that. Nobody has my personality, my being as a human being. Nobody has my thumbprint, my iris, the eye thing, bio, whatever they call it. Nobody has those unique features that each one of us has, you, me, all human beings. But we don't live like that. We don't live unique and original. No, we say we're original, we're unique. Our thumbprint and our iris and everything is unique. But we're going to live like everybody else. We're going to conform to a world system where they tell us how to live. Originality. We want to bring that new. Other companies and individuals have that value, but we want to really enhance it with our technology systems. But also with saying, how do you be original? You can only be original as you advance into the future. You can't be original going back. You got to go forward, right? And so it's very, very futuristic. And so this, let me see how much more time we have, but this idea that we're moving into a new world, we are shockingly, no longer do we live for material stuff, no longer do we live for monetary security, no longer do we live for profits, no longer do we live to secure our retirement when we're old. What do we live for? What values are we bringing to humanity? This is a message that you can hear more and more of. And if you are plugged into the world that, like my sister Penny sent me these videos of Mandy Pride going all over the world. She travels, she went to 150 countries and she met with world leaders and she's saying to everybody, and she wrote a book called The Value Compass, and she said to everybody, which Mark Carney is also doing. Mark Carney, who was the governor of the Central Bank of Canada and the governor of the Central Bank of England, goes around the world. He calls up world leaders. He behind the scenes, he's doing a lot of work, and they have, the two of them and many more, they have one message. Humanity is now about the values that we live for. I know it sounds abstract, it sounds passive, it sounds like, how is that important to my life? Like, okay, if the world goes towards values, how is that impacting my day-to-day living? Well, it does, because we speak to a certain type of people, right? We speak to people who are visionaries and who are originators and who want to go out and make a mark. If you don't have that hunger, that passion, then you're not in our crowd. And it's nice knowing it, but it doesn't work. We can't be in the same room. So we're talking about a particular kind of people, the people who are going to blaze the trail into the future. And so Web3 is here, the third phase of the internet, and we're positioning ourselves on the ground floor through the media operation that we're doing, through mediating who we are. And how do we mediate ourselves? By working on these kinds of things that we call values and technology and media, the new world that is opening up. That's how we're positioning ourselves, that we're on the ground floor and we're going to move into this third phase of the web, and we're going to be in a position of power and influence, not for our benefit, but because that's what we live for, to make a difference in society, to make a difference in our community, to go out there and say to people, the ones who are unenlightened, unaware, who are scared, who are frightened, human beings they're confused. Like right now there's huge protests in places like Kazakhstan and parts of Europe and even in Australia and different places, because people are confused about COVID. People are saying, why you, and we might very well see protests in Canada when they go into bigger lockdown, police on the street and everything. But like happening in Quebec right now, the Prime Minister Justin Trudeau called out the military in Quebec because people are confused. They don't know what's going on. They don't know where is society going, what is happening to me. My job is messed up. My bank account is messed up. My lifestyle and my living. I can't go out and party anymore. I can't go to the bar anymore and have a drink. I can't go to a restaurant and have a meal. I can't go to work anymore because of the lockdown and the restrictions. And people are confused. They don't know what's going on. What is going on? The rug of the world is being pulled from under the foundation of the world. Reality is being remade. Reality is being the great reset that the World Economic Forum talks about, is a reset of reality itself. When they say the Great Reset, what are they resetting? Not only the world system, but reality itself. And we need to understand these things. Yes, they're big ideas. Yes, they're convoluted stuff. Yes, they're passive and so abstract that it's hard to grasp for our minds to grasp these ideas. But we are on a different level. We function on a different level. We move on a different level. And whatever level you are at, we want you to come on board with us. Not because we know what is right and you don't know what is right. We're not saying that at all. We want to live a life that is enlightened. That's our goal. The human being should live an enlightened life and move with the times. We should discern the times. We should discern what is going on in the world. We should look at the current affairs and say, we won't panic. Even if chaos is coming and disruptions and the world economic system, the global order that was built over the past 70, 80 years after World War II, and even before World War II, they were setting it up. We think that is the norm, that has always been there. We think that the world system as it is today has always been there. People always driving cars, people always working 9 to 5, people living in the suburbs and working in the living in the suburbs, working in the city, and commuting back and forth. We believe that everybody always lived for money and economics, which is not true. In the feudal age, people didn't live for money. They lived to own land. Land was the main currency back then. Money was a developing means of exchange, but money didn't become the means of exchange until the industrial age, which is less than 100 years ago. That money really took off, the world financial system. And in fact, money only, the US and even countries around the world, only delinked fiat money from gold, like, 30, 40 years ago? Before that, money was linked to gold. If you didn't have gold to back it up, the bank couldn't give a loan. Now, if you put $1 in the bank can lend $10 on your dollar. Lend it 10 times. Lend your dollar out to people 10 times for interest. That system can't be sustained. It can't work. The world today is sitting on a total debt of over $130 trillion. America alone is in debt to the tune of 20-something trillion dollars. That system can't be sustained. It will collapse. It is being reformed, and hopefully the humane thinkers behind the scenes are dismantling it gradually, so the shock effect is not big, the suffering is not that bad. But we in the masses, we ordinary people, we gotta understand what's going on. The world is about understanding. We gotta come to an understanding. We gotta come to an enlightenment. We gotta come to an awakening of what is going on around us in the world, in the global system, but also even spiritually in the universe. We need to discern these things, and not everybody would, because not everybody has the time to go study, and not everybody has the gift of being able to discern things and seeing the future and taking all that information and extrapolating it into statistics and all those things. But some people do, and the ones who do, people, futurists, for example, like Peter Diamandis and Ray Kurzweil and all those guys, they share those information, that kind of knowledge and understanding freely. We can learn so much and equip ourselves and empower ourselves. Excuse me, but the average human being doesn't have the appetite for it. We want to break it up. We want to mediate what is really going on behind the scenes to as many people as we can, right? So we're getting ready to wrap up. These are heavy topics. These are weighty topics. But you think life is some. We live in a world where we would prefer, including myself, we would prefer to sit in front of a TV and laugh at stand-up comedians. That's the world we live in. The music that we listen to today, there's no substance to the music whatsoever. It's not one line they would keep singing over and over. All people care about is the beat, not even the lyrics anymore. We live in a superficial world it doesn't work. It doesn't work. That's why yesterday we talked about Doug Engelbart and his paper, which kick-started the whole internet. Well, Vannevar Bush is the who kick-started the whole internet revolution. But Vannevar Bush, his paper in 1962, entitled Augmenting Human Intellect, is what really started the internet revolution. And we talked about that yesterday. His vision was that technology would augment human intellect. Technology, well, the internet, of course. When we say technology, communications technology, the internet, it did the opposite. It didn't augment human intellect. Now, robots are smarter than us. There's a robot out there, Sophia, and they're mass producing Sophia in a factory in Japan. So you're gonna have a whole bunch of robots running around, looking like human beings. I mean, Sophia has her own Facebook page, and she tweets, and not she, it. But of course, they made her like a woman with woman features. So they have these life. It looks like real life, is what I mean. I'm looking for a word, I can't find it. Stuff that they put on that looks like flesh, and it looks like a real person outside, but inside it's all, we see it in movies, but now it's reality. They have robots out there. Inside is electronic stuff and metal. Outside is this human suit, they call it, the human suit, the flesh suit that they put on, and the robot looks like a normal person. And those robots are very, very smart because they tap into AI, artificial intelligence. They can go within seconds and sweep the internet and come up with any information you ask. And if you look at technologies coming out like GPT-4, GPT-3, GPT-2, which is where AI kind of a program that AI would delve in to get all their data. The human being can't compete with those things. So if we don't smarten up, and augment who we are as human beings, we're going to be left behind. I want to end the show with this point. We have 10 minutes more. The industrial in the feudal age, before the industrial age, so going back from 1800s, going back 1890, 1885, going back in history, human beings. Wait, I lost my train of thought. What was my point? I have no idea. But the human beings going back then didn't have any potential of augmenting their intellect because of the state of literacy, the state of education, and all that. That's not what I wanted to say. There was something else. But coming in the industrial age, people were able to, study and become more smart and get access to books and public libraries. Andrew Carnegie, once the richest man in the world in the 1920s, 1930s, took his wealth, his money, and built public libraries all around the world, right, in every single country. I remember in my teen years, my favorite thing was to be in the library, reading. I would read T.S. Eliot, The Wasteland, that one I remember very well, but also Emily Dickinson's poetry. I used to love being in the library. I was weird. I was a nerd to the highest extent. But he made that possible. Andrew Carnegie, the richest man, took his money and built libraries around the world. But today, we have it on our fingertips. We have ebooks, we have all kinds of knowledge on the internet, and we don't make use of it. Okay, I remember what I wanted to say. From 1895 or so, going back in history, throughout the entire history, most of humanity, the average human being, lived in poverty. They were poor. You could own 10 acres of land and be farming it. You didn't own the land as a peasant. The landlord because whoever went to war and fight and they seized land, the monarchy, the king or queen, would give them title to the land, and they become a lord or a baron or some royalty, some aristocrat. And those were the rich people. The rest of society, poor as dogs, poor as ever. They didn't even sleep in beds. They didn't have sofa. Life was destitute. They had, of course, there was no electricity. They had bottle lamp, and a lot of places didn't even have bottle lamp. They used flambeau and just light torch and stick it in your walls and stuff to have light in the night. It was poor and destitute. In the industrial age, poverty became if you don't have money. If you don't have money, you're poor, which is still the case today, right? The wealthy became if you have money. And so therefore, Forbes magazine and all these places are saying, oh, look at Bill Gates, he's worth $200 billion, or Elon Musk, he's worth $250 billion, or Apple is worth one, and they categorize everything in terms of economics and money. and say, if you have money and wealth, you're rich. Of course, the system is there, it's the status quo, it's been there for decades. We can't expect it to change overnight. These journalists and writers, and they're caught in a box, or they all think economics, economics, economics. When people talk about COVID and the pandemic, they're thinking economic impact. That's all they think about. Nobody thinks about it, what is going on socially. I mean, people talk about it, yes, but the main concern of people, economics, money. And the poor are those without money, and the rich are those with money. Now here is the big thing that is going on right now as we reformulate and reset reality itself. What is reality?